I just wanted to welcome everybody to the Dalton Senior Center. We're honored to have you here today because we want to thank you for your service. Each and every one of you had a part in changing history, which brought us here today. A free, a safe, and an independent country. And we want to thank you for all you've done for all the servicemen, men and women of today, those that are serving now, and those that are going to serve in the future. We are very, very grateful. In the words of Harry S. Truman, our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude, and we do have undying gratitude for each and every one of you. I'm going to introduce Smitty Pignatelli. He's going to speak. Following Smitty, Ty Bellinger will speak, and then we'll be retiring Ty's flag and putting up the new one for each and every one of you. But before I forget, I just wanted to mention too that our meal today is hosted or prepared by the new director and the new chef from Sugar Hill, and we want to thank them also for their service. So, Smitty.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm really quite honored to be here. My name is Smitty Pignatelli. What a beautiful day. But Kelly says it's like this all the time in Dalton, so I hope that's the case. My dad was a World War II veteran, and he passed away 3 years ago. And like everybody, his favorite holiday was Christmas because he loved getting Christmas gifts. But he loved Veterans Day, and he loved Memorial Day because it was personal. My dad lost his best friend growing up in Lenox at the age of 19 when his plane went down in the Pacific during World War II. I'm named after my dad's best friend. He was a young man that I never knew. I heard a lot of stories about him, but it's something that is very near and dear to me each and every day, knowing about the service and the sacrifice that our veterans have taken. My dad didn't talk a lot about Smitty, but I learned enough growing up. But I didn't learn it all until 62 years later. I actually found where Smitty was buried. My father never knew where Smitty was buried. And on a Saturday morning, on the fresh fallen snow, we drove down to Milton, Massachusetts, and we found Smitty's grave. And if you could just picture my then 82-year-old father walking through the fresh fallen snow just to touch the headstone of his best friend. I could see a tremendous burden lifted off of my father's shoulders that he carried for all those years. On the dresser in my father's house, which I now live in, there were two photographs my entire life growing up. One of my mother and one of Smitty. These are stories that veterans have deep in their heart that they carry forward for the rest of their lives. And after we found that gravesite, my father started talking about Smitty. He started talking about the war. He started talking about the service and the sacrifice that so many people have come before him and continue to do. The thing that really stuck with me, though, with my father, and I'm sure all of these veterans can relate to, he says, while the wound wasn't fresh, losing his best friend, the pain was still there. Think about that. The wound wasn't fresh, but the pain was still there. I was telling some folks on the way in, it's so important for us to celebrate this day. Celebrate all of the men and women who have served our country. We have to remember the men and women that have paid the ultimate sacrifice to serve this country. And future generations need to understand and learn about the stories that these people who did this for us. World War II, they came home to ticker tape parades, but the internal pain was still there. Korean War, the forgotten war, because World War II was the war to end all wars. But yet, how many tens of thousands of people were perished in the Korean War. In the Vietnam War, I think shame on America the way the Vietnam War veterans were treated when they returned to American soil. I have friends of mine in Lenox that when they got off the airplane in Seattle, Washington, after 1 or 2 or even 3 tours of Vietnam, so happy to be back on American soil, were spit upon as they walked through the airport. We need to start taking care of these folks much better than we have before. We need to remember the stories, not only of my father and Smitty, but the stories that maybe have yet to be told. But please, we need to keep asking. I love going into the schools and I tell the kids, talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents. What was life like during the war? I'm on a project right now. I'm trying to collect all of the names of soldiers killed in Berkshire County from World War I through today. I'm collecting a lot of names town by town, but I'm even more amazed on how many people have actually served. And then I think I'd love to have a time machine. I think of the town of Lenox right now where I live. 5,300 people live in Lenox right now. What was the population like 80 years to 100 years ago between World War I and World War II? We lost 18 soldiers in World War II from Lenox alone. But dozens and dozens more were out in service to our country and came home safely. What were the Berkshires like? In small cities and towns all across America, they stood up and said, I'm ready to serve to protect our democracy. And with the politics we're going through today, we need the heroes again to stand up and say, why did you do what you did to protect what we have? So I'm really quite honored to be here to say thank you to all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the stories that you maybe have told, but hopefully you will tell as time goes on, because my father died 3 years ago. Any stories he had that he didn't share with his family are now gone. They're gone. I've been on a mission to find out the military records of my namesake. But unfortunately, like a lot of veterans know, so many military records were lost in a fire. Nearly 80%. It is taking decades to rebuild the service that they have. No veteran, whether they survived or not, should ever be forgotten. Their stories need to be preserved for generations to come. So, Kelly, thank you very much for inviting me to be here. I see my good friend, Representative Paul Mark, future Senator Paul Mark, is here. Paul, I'm sure Kelly wants you to come up here as well. But I'm honored to serve with Paul, and these are the kind of things that I think we are both very passionate about protecting our heritage, protecting our integrity, and thanking the people from Dalton and the hill towns and all of Berkshire County. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those words are never strong enough, but they're coming from the heart, and we just really appreciate everything that you have done. So I'm looking forward to the lobster for lunch. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not lobster? Okay. Meatloaf? Not close enough. But should I introduce Paul? Paul Mark has been a great partner in the House of Representatives for the last 12 years. Personally, I'm sad to see him leave the House. Personally, I'm ecstatic that he's going to the Senate. And I believe Paul will always stay true to his roots. And he's a small town guy. We're going to be a great team. So let's leave a nice warm welcome to Representative Paul Mark. But hopefully next Tuesday, we're going to call you Senator Paul Mark. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Dalton's new state representative, Smitty Pignatelli. Thank you for coming here. I think it's important to note that as one of your first official acts in Dalton, that you took the time to be here for our veterans. And I'll just quickly say, because Kelly told me to be quick because I was late, our role as a state legislature is to make sure that veterans have the resources they need. And I like to say this every year, and I'll say it again. Our first president, our first general, our first commander-in-chief, I'm paraphrasing George Washington, but he said that our ability to attract young men and now young women to serve in our armed services in the future is going to be directly correlated to how they perceive we have treated the people that have already served, how we've treated our veterans. And so from George Washington to this day, it is important, all of you that have served your country, were willing to die for your country, that we in government are there to make sure that what you need to move on with your life, to get the services that you need as time goes by, are there and available for you. And that is something that me and Smitty and many of our colleagues are dedicated to making sure happens every single day. So thank you all for your service. Thank you for giving me a quick minute to say hi, and happy Veterans Day.
Okay, I'd like to call Ty Bellinger up now. He's very nervous, so be very supportive to him.
Mr. Marks, Mr. Pignatelli, ladies and gentlemen, fellow veterans throughout the whole group of you. Yeah, I'm nervous, but I had no idea what to talk about, but it was suggested to me that I talk about the Veterans History Project, which I was involved with for a while. So bear with me, and I hope I'm not going to bore you. Can you all hear me still? Okay. The Veterans History Project started at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. With the inception of 2000, from 2000, there have been 150,000 plus veterans who have been recorded down in Washington in the archives. Sue Jacobs and Dick Nicholas got the idea of bringing the Veterans History Project up here to Dalton. And they brought it, they worked at it and got it and brought it into the Dalton Community Cable, and with partnership of the Council on Aging. Since it started, we started here, we've had 95 local veterans recorded here. So I'm just going to give you a little synopsis, a short synopsis of how it works. The first question on the list: where were you born? When were you born? Did you grow up there? Did you go to high school? What did your parents do for a living? Bear with me a second here. We're going to get into the military part as to when you enlisted, where you enlisted, or drafted. Were you drafted or were you enlisted? Where did you go to boot camp or basic training? Advanced training? This is all the military right now. Where did you go overseas? And when did you go overseas? How did you get overseas? These are all questions that are asked. And also, what unit did you serve with overseas? And I just want to say that I heard some great stories from some wonderful people doing this project. I really enjoyed it. After the military, how did you get home? Ship, whatever. Where were you discharged from? After the military, did you marry? Did you raise a family? What did you do for a living yourself? Did you join any veterans organizations? And the last question that I don't know why, I just like this question, is do you feel that your military service had a positive or a negative effect on your life? And I think that all that I interviewed, and I think everybody else, they all had a positive effect on their life. So with that, I would like to thank Kelly and the Council on Aging and her staff and the Senior Center and their staff for honoring me last year, because I wouldn't come up here and speak and say thank you. So I'm saying thank you for letting me stand over you or guard you for the last year. Thank you. Was it good? Oh, okay. All right, thank you very much.
outside.
I can do it. I can do it.
I know you can. Hello? Hello? Can I have your attention, please? Hi, can you use the table of the missing soldier?
Okay. Those who served and those currently serving in the United States as members of the armed forces, as civil servants, and as contractors are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and imprisonment. Before we begin our activities this evening, we pause to recognize our POW and MIAs. We call your attention to this small table, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that some are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as POW and MIAs. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families, so we join together to pay humble tribute to them and to bear witness to their continued absence. This table, set for one, is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner, alone against his or her suppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single rose on the vase signifies the blood they may have shed in sacrifice to ensure freedom of our beloved United States of America. This rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep faith while awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon on the vase represents the yellow ribbons worn on the lapels of thousands who demand with unyielding determination a proper account of our comrades who are not among us. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of their countless volunteers, of families as they wait. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us at this time. The chair is empty. They are not here. The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors to the open arms of a grateful nation. Let us pray to the Supreme Commander that all of our comrades will soon be in our ranks. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifice. May God forever watch over them and protect them and their families. I thank you.